Hi everyone, it's Suzanne. Thank you for joining me and sharing in the pleasures of books. Today I'm going to share with you the books that I read with my daughter on a daily basis. Well, we do it 5 days a week, and these we refer to as our daily reads. Now, we are homeschoolers, and I mention this because in the homeschool community, these daily reads are usually referred to as something called the morning basket, which really is a basket full of goodies a lot of homeschoolers read on a daily basis. And every family has different books included, and it takes different times depending on family situations. First, I'm going to show you the books that we have been doing since we started our school season. And the first one is a poetry book. It's called Sing a Song of Seasons, which is a nature poem for each day of the year. And these poems were selected by Fiona Waters, and the illustrations are by Fran Preston Gannon. And these are a poem a day. And as you see, they're not long poems. So that's just a way to keep poetry in our life on a daily basis. We do tend to do longer poetry sessions like poetry tea time, where we read longer and more poems, but this is one we do on a daily basis. We've been reading her stories since the beginning of our school year, and this is an anthology. And I'll definitely showcase this in next week's Women in History video that's about anthologies, because there's quite a few anthologies and some are more kid-friendly than others. And my daughter, for some reason, loves this one. She fell in love with this one. She's always more than happy to read it. In fact, she loves reading it. And how we do it in our homeschool is we read one story a day. So I'm just going to show, see these flags? Oh, those were stories that were pertinent for Black History Month, but it's the red one. So we're almost finished this book. And then I will add in another anthology. Then I'll add in another female anthology. But these flags are fantastic. You'll see them in many of the books in our daily reads. These are what I use for bookmarks. You can just reuse them over and over. Again, this is called Her Story, 50 Women and Girls Who Shook Up the World. This is illustrated by Sarah Walsh, and it was written by Catherine Halligan. Halligan? Yeah, it's probably Halligan. Yeah, highly recommend this one. Oh, and for a reference point, if you haven't seen any of our videos, my daughter is 7. So she loves this book, and she is 7. I mention that because it seems to make a difference at what age they are, but she definitely loves this, and I am much older than 7, and I love it too, and I've learned about many women that I had never heard of before in this book. And they really, sorry, I'm going backtracking, but I don't think I said that. They give you a lot of information, and it's basically like they give you all the key points that you would want to know about a person, a woman, and then it's up to you if you want to go and find out more about that particular woman. And we've done that with a few of the women featured in here. Next, we have Usborne's Greek Myths for Young Children. And we did start this last year in school, and then it kind of, for a Greek study, and it kind of fell by the wayside. So now I've added it into our daily reads, and it's, yeah, we're 3/4 of the way finished with this now. Vivian loves this book, and yeah, it's colorful, and the stories are definitely written for children. And I love it because it gives Vivian, and I want to say even myself, I'm learning as much from homeschooling as she is, I think, sometimes. But it gives you all the key players in Greek mythology. And I love that it introduces the names and some of the stories. And then next year, we'll increase the level and detail of each story. This is an introduction that is very enjoyable. My daughter would read this from front to back if I let her. Sometimes we read more pages than other times. The reason I don't sit there and read it from front to back is because, as you'll see, we have quite a stack of books that I want to get through on a daily basis. And some of them are not as fun to read. So I definitely like having it mixed up because we get through those other books while still having the whole experience be enjoyable. The rest I'm going to show you are actually recent reads. So to give you context, we spend about an hour on our daily reads, and I think I mentioned at the beginning, in the homeschool community, this practice is referred to as the morning basket. And those are reads that you do with your children on a daily basis. And initially we started out having a morning basket. The reason that we changed the name to Daily Reads is because, as Vivian pointed out one day, it seemed funny to be calling it a morning basket when we did the daily reads in the afternoon. So we don't always start our homeschool at the same time. So we've changed the name to Daily Reads. Now, I have included in here the Usborne Children's Bible. And I do want to note that we are a secular family. However, I do think it is important for my daughter to be familiar with some of the well-known stories out of the Old and New Testament. They're referenced in literature just as much as Greek mythology. For this, I wanted to keep it simple. I love the storytelling fashion that they use in the Usborne books. And this is like the Greek mythology in that Vivian loves this book and wants me to read as many as possible during a day as well. I think it's a great introduction to some of the key figures that are mentioned and discussed a lot in literature and in reference to Christianity. This is a DK book called Life Cycles, and we got this from Christmas. This is Life Cycles, everything from start to finish. And I think this book is beautiful, and I love the idea of it showed pretty much anything, you name it, on our earth. And it shows a picture of, yeah, we just did that today, actually. Oh, we did that one, the coral. Obviously, this is not a science textbook, but what I love is that it introduces the concept that there's a life cycle to everything on the earth. And you notice I don't have a bookmark in here because every day I let Vivian pick out which story she wants to read. And if there's certain things that catch our eye, we can choose to do a further study on that for create a unit study or something, or even just take a couple hours and look at a few things on the internet. And although I can't say that's happened yet, just seems to be a standalone book that we're enjoying and loving, and it's beautiful. This is a new introduction to our daily reads, and this is a result. I ordered this last month for Black History Month, and we read a lot of books that I showcased in that video for Black History Month, but of course we didn't get through this. This is not a book you can sit down and read page to page, so you will see a flag in this, and we'll be reading this over 2 or 3 months because we're just doing a couple pages, and it's like, I think I figured out to finish it would be another month and a half. We'll probably finish this by the end of April, give or take. And I love this book because it's a child's introduction, like I said, to African American history. Did I say that? I don't think so. The experiences, people, and events that shaped their country. And this is by Jabari Assam, and it's illustrated by Lynn Gaines, and it's going back from slavery in the United States up until today and showcasing famous people from today in terms of entertainers and politicians, that sort of thing. Okay, and there we have some sports people. So it really gives you a whole glimpse at African history and that timeline and key people involved in that, which I think is fantastic. Once I finish this, I'll let you know how it goes. And if there's any further study we're doing based on this. But I think where my daughter is 7, I think after this is finished and all the other books that we read last month, and this month we're doing things on women's history, I think we'll take a break until next year for Black History Month, where we'll revisit this and see what other people or events we want to make further study of. The other book that we've added in, which is we're having a good time reading, this is called Wow Canada. So for those that don't know, we are from Canada, and we started a Canadian study in the winter. And I'm going to continue that right until next year. And I thought this was a great, fun read to introduce Vivian to different facts about Canada. And this is called Wow Canada. This is called Wow Canada, Exploring This Land from Coast to Coast. And this is by Vivian Bowers. And I love the way she's laid out this book. It's about a mother and a father, a teenage boy and a young daughter are traveling across Canada in their vehicle from the West Coast to the East Coast. So we've just recently started that, but it's always fun every day. There's certainly an interest there, and because it's written by the teenage boy, so that's fun. There's a couple chuckles in there, of course, about him and his sister. Anyway, it's a great time. Again, wow, Canada. Sometimes I add in other little books, but like I said, it takes us quite a while to get through that stack of books, so I don't like to add too much on top of it, but I do try to break that up. Sometimes we read it in the kitchen, sometimes we read it in the living room, sometimes there's tea or hot chocolate or snacks or Vivian colors, that sort of thing. But I did add in, like for example, last month when we were reading these, if you saw the Black History video, these were in it, and I wanted to finish these up. I added these into our pile. Next week, I'm going to be adding one of these, so I'll do one a week until these are finished as well. And I am flexible. If it ends up it's feeling like a bit too much for where we're at that day, I may or may not include these, so that's okay. Or I might do our daily reads, have a little break, and then come back and finish off one of these. It really depends on our state of mind and how much we're enjoying the story that's being told. The final book that I'm going to mention for our daily reads is a book that I'm adding next month. And it's not so much a book that I'm adding as an exercise that I'm going to add to this pile on a daily basis. And this is How to Teach Your Children Shakespeare by Ken Ludwig. And if you saw the Shakespeare video, you will have seen my explanation for this book. So Ken is really Ken being the author, like I know him, but anyway, Ken, the author, really lays it out. So your child is actually learning like a part of a Shakespeare play, and that's done in such a way. So there's repetition involved. And when Vivian gets one or two lines down pat, then we add another line and then another line. So I'm going to add that into our daily practice, and the best place to put it is in a daily read, because then it just becomes part of the regular cycle that we're doing. Like I said, this will be added into our daily reads next week. This week I have been slowly introducing Shakespeare back into our life, so we've been reading some of the Shakespeare's play, like Shakespeare Can Be Fun. And I got a couple of books from the library for kids. A couple more brilliant discoveries in terms of the Shakespeare literature. So I think it would be fun to share those with you. Those are all the books that I'm going to show you. I just want to reiterate that it does take us about an hour a day, and we are homeschoolers. So I say that because the majority of my viewers, I don't think are. I'm mentioning that we're homeschoolers again, because if your child is in school and you have after school activities and you're working and they have homework, this might not be an option for your home, but hopefully there is one or two books in this pile that you saw and you might like to read with your child on a daily basis. It's so easy to use, like I said, those flags, and you just read one or two pages. If there's a book that you really would love to read with your child, because there's nothing like the connection I find of reading with your child on a daily basis. Yeah, I find it's one of the best ways to connect. And when I say the best ways, is because you get to share an experience, and it doesn't always take a lot of time because many people are short on time. But for example, in those Greek myths books, you can read one or two of those stories like in 10 minutes. But then it becomes your special thing that you're doing with your child. And there's always a book or a subject we wish we had time to teach our child for sure, or that we wish we had have read when we were a child. I hope that there's something useful in there for you. And the last little note I'll make is we do a lot of read alouds in our house, and that has nothing to do with our daily reads. And I just mentioned that because some people include those in their morning baskets if you're from the homeschool community, but it's certainly something that we do during a different time of the day. Whew! All right, it's obvious we do a lot of reading in our house. This will change when the summer comes and the spring, I'm sure, but for now, we're enjoying every minute of it. All right, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with another bookish video.